The 𝗕𝗲𝘀 dawn shuddered as another console exploded, casting jagged shadows across the bridge. Captain 𝗦𝗁𝗁 clutched the command rail, his delicate fingers trembling. The scent of burning insulation filled the air, thick and acrid, making his secondary lungs ache. Around him, his crew moved in frantic silence, no screams, no panic. Just the quiet, desperate efficiency of a species that had never evolved to fight. "Engineering reports core breach in 6 cycles, First Officer 𝗕𝗲 murmured, her voice barely audible over the groaning hull. 𝗦𝗁𝗁 closed his inner eyelids against the flickering emergency lights. 6 cycles. Barely enough time to say the death rites. The Dawn had been a research vessel, unarmed, unprepared for the 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗁 ambush. Now, they drifted helplessly near the black hole's pull, their engines dead, their shields a memory. "Send the distress signal again," 𝗦𝗁𝗁 ordered. 𝗕𝗲 hesitated. "The 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁 are jamming all channels. No one will hear. Wideband. Every frequency." 𝗦𝗁𝗁's voice cracked. "Let the void itself carry our plea." The comm officer's hands danced across the console. A final, hopeless cry flung into the dark. "This is the 𝗕𝗲𝘀 vessel Dawn. We are under attack. We beg for aid. Any who hear this, we are defenseless. Please, **. Silence." "Then." "Signal received," the comm officer gasped. "Unknown origin, translating now." The bridge froze as the reply crackled through, deep and rough, the voice like grinding stone. "Deathworlder fleet dreadnought en route. Hold tight." 𝗦𝗁𝗁's blood turned to ice. Deathworlder. The word alone sent instinctive terror through every 𝗕𝗲𝘀 on the bridge. Their databases held only fragments, rumors of creatures from nightmare planets, where gravity crushed and air burned and predators ruled. "Cancel the signal," 𝗕𝗲 shouted. "They'll slaughter us faster than the 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁." Too late. A proximity alert screamed. Space tore open, reality itself flinching as something monstrous erupted from FTL. The dreadnought wasn't a ship, it was a jagged, armored claw, bristling with weapons, its hull scarred by impacts no sane species would survive. The Dawn shuddered as docking clamps locked on. Then the humans boarded. The airlock hissed open, and the first human stepped through. He was massive, taller than any 𝗕𝗲𝘀, his armored suit adding bulk to an already terrifying frame. The helmet's visor reflected the dim emergency lights, hiding his face, but the way he moved screamed predator. The 𝗕𝗲𝘀s shrank back, their thin limbs trembling. This was it. They'd called for help and summoned monsters instead. The human raised a hand. 𝗕𝗲 flinched, expecting a weapon. Instead, the armored fingers tapped the side of the helmet, and the visor slid up. The face underneath was wrong. Too much bone structure, too many sharp angles, skin flushed with unnatural color. The human's eyes locked onto 𝗦𝗁𝗁𝗁, and then he smiled. "Captain." The voice was still rough, but the tone was friendly. "Lieutenant Carter, UNS Dreadnought. You the ones who sent the SOS." 𝗦𝗁𝗁𝗁's throat tightened. He'd studied Deathworlder dialects. This one was speaking their language. Badly, but clearly. "Why yes," he managed. "Good." Carter turned and barked over his shoulder. "Medic! Get in here, we've got wounded." More humans flooded in, their movements efficient, their voices loud and grating to 𝗕𝗲𝘀 ears. But they weren't killing. They were helping. One knelt beside a crewman with a broken limb, pulling a device from his belt. Another was already at the damaged console, prying open panels with terrifying strength. 𝗕𝗲 grabbed 𝗦𝗁𝗁𝗁's arm. "What are they doing?" 𝗦𝗁𝗁𝗁 had no answer. Then the human medic, smaller than the others, but still twice the bulk of a 𝗕𝗲𝘀, approached 𝗕𝗲. "Hey! You're bleeding." 𝗕𝗲 hadn't even noticed the gash on her forearm. The medic reached out, and 𝗕𝗲 recoiled. The human paused. "It's okay," she said, slower now. "Just gonna patch you up." Her hands were gentle. The antiseptic stung, but the bandage went on smoothly. 𝗕𝗲 stared. This wasn't how Deathworlders were supposed to behave. Across the bridge, Carter was talking to 𝗦𝗁𝗁𝗁. "Your engines are fried, but we can tow you to the nearest friendly port. Assuming you've got one." 𝗦𝗁𝗁𝗁 swallowed. "The 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁, they've blockaded our colonies." Carter's smile vanished. "Right. "The guys who shot you up." He turned, keying his comm. "Commander, we've got a situation." A new voice crackled back, deeper, rougher. "Define situation." "Local hostile force, unknown numbers. Civilians in the crossfire." A pause. Then, "Tell them to sit tight. We'll handle it." The line went dead. 𝗦𝗫𝗀𝘁 crest flattened in dread. You can't fight the 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀. Their fleet is." Carter grinned. It wasn't a comforting expression. "Captain," he said, "you ever seen what happens when Deathworlders get angry?" Outside the viewport, the Dreadnought's weapons powered up. The 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀's command ship hung in the void like a jagged blade, its obsidian hull swallowing starlight. On the bridge, war leader 𝗕𝗲𝘀 flexed his claws, mandibles clicking in anticipation. The 𝗕𝗲𝘀 vessel was dead in space, easy prey. And now this unknown interloper dared challenge him? "Open channel," 𝗕𝗀𝘀 snarled. The comm officer obeyed. "Unidentified vessel," he hissed. "This is 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀's territory. Withdraw or be destroyed." The response came instantly, a voice like grinding stone. "Yeah, nah." 𝗕𝗀𝘀 stiffened. "What?" The human ship moved. One moment it hung motionless. The next, it was accelerating straight at them, engines flaring like a miniature sun. 𝗕𝗀𝘀's tactical officer shrieked. "Weapons lock!" "There!" The dreadnought fired. Not with missiles. Not with energy beams. With its hull. The reinforced prow smashed through the 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀's destroyer's shields like they weren't even there, metal screaming as it tore the ship in half. Debris spun wildly, atmosphere venting in frozen plumes. On the Kryllian dawn, 𝗦𝗫𝗀𝘀 watched in horror. They just rammed them." Carter chuckled over comms. "Yeah, we do that sometimes." Chaos erupted across the 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀's fleet. Ships scrambled to regroup, but the dreadnought was already among them, its point defense guns shredding fighters like paper. A 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝗀's cruiser unleashed its plasma batteries. Direct hit. The humans didn't even flinch. "Shields at 82%, Carter reported casually, as if discussing the weather. Then the boarding pods launched. 𝗕𝗀𝘀 saw them coming, dozens of armored capsules slamming into his ship's hull. The impacts reverberated through the deck. "Repel them!" he roared. His warriors rushed to the breach points, pulse rifles ready. They weren't ready enough. The first human came through the hole without a suit, bare hands tearing through the emergency seal. Air howled out, but the creature didn't care. It just inhaled deeply and grinned. "Ah, you guys have nitrogen atmosphere? Cute." Then it moved. 𝗕𝗀𝘀 watched in disbelief as the Deathworlder tore through his best warriors. Bones snapped. Chitin cracked. One human grabbed a 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 by the thorax and threw him into a console hard enough to shatter it. The tactical officer turned to 𝗕𝗀𝘀, eyes wide with terror. "War leader, their biology readings." "I can see them." 𝗕𝗀𝘀 snapped. The scans were impossible. Muscle density off the charts. Pain receptors dulled to near nothing. Adrenaline levels that would kill any 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 10 times over. And they were laughing. One human, face splattered with 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗃, keyed his comm, "Commander, we've got their bridge." The response was immediate. "Copy that. Tell them they've got 10 seconds to surrender." 𝗕𝗀𝘀's mandibles clicked furiously. Never in 10 cycles of conquest had he. 5 seconds, the human amended cheerfully. The war leader looked at the carnage around him. At the humans who fought like demons. At his own reflection in the cracked view screen. He dropped his weapon. "All ships," he choked out, "stand down." The human clapped him on the carapace, a gesture that nearly shattered his exoskeleton. Smart choice. Back on the dawn, Krell was shaking. They won. 𝗦𝗫𝗀𝘀𝗀 could only stare at the drifting wreckage. "No," he whispered. "They didn't win." He turned to his crew, voice trembling with something between awe and terror. "They redefined winning." The 𝗕𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀's prisoners sat in stunned silence aboard the Dreadnought's brig, their once proud carapaces dull with shock. 𝗕𝗀𝘀 clutched his injured forelimb, watching through the reinforced glass as humans walked past. Some carrying tools, others laughing, none even sparing a glance at their conquered foes. It wasn't the disregard of arrogance. It was the indifference of something that had never truly considered them a threat. On the Kryllian dawn, repairs were nearly complete. Human engineers moved through the corridors, their sheer physicality still unsettling, but now, instead of terror, the 𝗕𝗲𝘀 felt something else. Oh! 𝗦𝘁cie stood beside Commander Hale on the Dreadnought's observation deck, staring at the stars. The human commander was a mountain of muscle and scars, his voice a low rumble. "Your people got somewhere safe to go?" 𝗦𝘁cie hesitated. "The Vorax control our home systems. Even if we return." Hale snorted. "Not anymore, they don't." A data slate slid across the table. 𝗦𝘁cie's crest flared as he read, "Surrender demands transmitted across the Vorax Empire. Unconditional withdrawal. Immediate ceasefire. Reparations." And at the bottom, a single line. "Failure to comply will result in further discussions with the United Deathworlder fleet." "They'll never accept this," 𝗦𝘁cie breathed. Hale grinned. "They already did." The 𝗕𝗲𝘀's hands shook. Centuries of oppression, undone in hours. Krell stepped forward, her voice small. "Why? You didn't even know us." Hale's expression shifted, something almost gentle in those predators' eyes. "Back home, we've got a saying, walk softly and carry a big stick." He shrugged. "Turns out, some folks only understand the stick." A chime sounded. Hale checked his wrist display and sighed. "Gotta run." Picked up another distress call, some mining colony getting hassled by pirates. He paused at the door. "You folks need an escort home?" 𝗦𝘁cie looked at his crew. At the humans already packing up their gear, ready to vanish into the void to answer someone else's cry for help. "No," he said softly. Then louder, "But we would like to send a message to our people." Hale nodded. The comm officer handed over the transmitter. 𝗦𝘁cie took a breath. "To the 𝗕𝗲𝘀 High Council, tell every ship, every colony, broadcast this on all channels." His voice didn't shake now. "The Deathworlders are real, and they're on our side." Across the galaxy, the message spread. In Vorax space, warlords burned the data packets, terrified of what they contained. On fringe worlds, slave races whispered the words like prayers. And on the Dreadnought, as the humans prepared to jump, Carter clapped 𝗦𝘁cie on the shoulder, carefully, so carefully, and said, "Next time you need help, just ask." The ship vanished into FTL, leaving only silence. Krell exhaled. "What now?" 𝗦𝘁cie watched the stars where they'd gone. "Now," he said, "we live." Somewhere in the dark, another distress signal flashed. It wouldn't go unanswered. The Dreadnought tore through the void, its engines burning white-hot as it answered the new distress call. Inside the war room, Commander Hale studied the tactical display, a mining colony under siege by raiders, their crude weapons no match for what was coming. "ETA 3 minutes, Carter reported. Hale nodded. Standard procedure. But something nagged at him. He turned to his comm officer. "Any word from the 𝗕𝗲𝘀s?" The officer grinned. "Just got a transmission. Their first warship launched yesterday. Called it the 𝗦𝘁cie's Resolve." A chuckle rippled through the bridge. Hale allowed himself a rare smile. Good for them. Then the proximity alert blared. "New contact," the sensor chief barked. "Not the raiders, something bigger. Coming in fast." The view screen flickered as the unknown vessel dropped out of FTL, a sleek, predatory design, its hull marked with unfamiliar sigils. Hale's smile vanished. Battle stations. Across the colony, panic erupted as the new ship opened fire, not on the settlement, but on the raiders. Pulse cannons tore through the pirate vessels with surgical precision. Within seconds, the threat was neutralized. Silence filled the bridge. Then the comm crackled. A voice spoke, smooth, calculated, dripping with false warmth. "Human vessel." How fascinating. Hale's blood ran cold. He knew that tone. Predators recognizing other predators. The view screen resolved into an alien face, sharp-featured, with too many eyes. "We are the Zareth Collective. We, too, answer calls for help." A pause. "Though our methods differ." Hale's hand hovered near the weapons console. "Is that a threat?" The Zareth's mandibles twitched. "An observation. Your Enthusiasm for protecting lesser species is noted. The transmission cut. The bridge erupted. They were scanning us, the tech officer shouted. Carter turned to Hale. Commander. Hale raised a hand. He'd seen the data. The Zareth ship's weapons had been primed the entire time. Not just for the raiders. For them. A new player had entered the game. And they weren't afraid of Deathworlders. Hale keyed the fleet-wide comm. All ships. New priority target. Zareth Collective. Assume hostile. Somewhere in the dark, another SOS blinked. But for the first time, the dreadnought didn't move. Hale stared at the stars where the Zareth had vanished. This changed everything. The war room door hissed open. It was just beginning. The dreadnought's war room hummed with tension. Hale's fingers drummed against the tactical display as the last sensor readings from the Zareth ship played on loop. Every officer stood rigid at their stations, waiting. Analysis, Hale snapped. The science officer didn't look up from his screens. Their weapons tech outclasses ours by at least 2 generations. Shields are adaptive. Our attacks would need to cycle frequencies mid-volley to penetrate. Carter let out a low whistle. So they're smarter than the Vorax. Worse, the officer continued. Their FTL leaves no residual signature. We can't track them. Silence. Hale's jaw tightened. First contact with a species that didn't fear them. That might even be stronger. The comm crackled unexpectedly. Receiving transmission, encrypted human military band. Hale exchanged glances with Carter. No one should have those codes. The screen flickered to life, revealing a human face, gaunt, scarred, wearing a uniform none of them recognized. Commander Hale. The stranger's voice was gravel and smoke. I'm Admiral Kessler, UNS Retribution. We've been fighting the Zareth for 6 months. Hale's blood ran cold. There is no retribution in our fleet. Kessler's smile didn't reach his eyes. Not in yours. The screen split, showing another dreadnought, but older, battle-scarred. Behind it, a fleet of mismatched human vessels, some barely spaceworthy. Welcome to the war, Commander. You're about to learn why the Zareth haven't conquered this galaxy yet. Kessler leaned forward. They're afraid of what we become when cornered. Static swallowed the transmission. The bridge erupted into chaos. Hale stared at the empty screen. Somewhere in the dark, the rules had changed. And humanity had been playing a different game all along. The static hung in the air like gun smoke after the phantom transmission cut out. Every officer on the dreadnought's bridge stood frozen, the weight of Kessler's words pressing down like a collapsing star. Hale broke the silence first. Get me fleet command. Now. The comm officer's fingers flew across the console before freezing. Sir, we're being jammed. Not just us, the entire sector. Carter's armor creaked as he clenched his fists. That's impossible. Nothing can block. The proximity alarms screamed. Not one ship. Not 10. Dozens of Zareth signatures blinked into existence across their scopes, their sleek hulls gliding through space with predatory grace. No warning. No demands. Just perfect, terrifying formation. Hale's tactical display lit up with threat markers. Battle stations. All hands. The Zareth fired first. Not with plasma. Not with kinetics. The weapons struck like living things, twisting tendrils of energy that wrapped around the dreadnought's shields and squeezed. Warning lights exploded across every console as the ship groaned in protest. Shields failing. Engineering shouted. Whatever that is, it's eating through them like acid. Hale gripped the command rail hard enough to dent the metal. Return fire. Full broadside. The dreadnought's guns roared, and did nothing. The Zareth ships flickered, their outlines blurring as the projectiles passed harmlessly through them. They're phasing. Science Officer 𝗕𝗁𝗁𝗃 gasped. Our weapons can't even touch. A new alert cut her off. Incoming boarding pods. Hale's blood ran cold. Seal the... The explosion rocked the ship before he could finish. The deck plates buckled as something tore through 6 layers of armored bulkhead like wet paper. Alarms wailed as atmosphere vented, and through the smoke, figures emerged. Zareth warriors. Taller than humans. Thinner. Their movements were wrong, joints bending in impossible directions, their chitinous armor shifting colors to match the surroundings. The lead warrior's 4 eyes locked onto Hale, and its voice echoed inside their skulls without speaking. You do not belong here, Deathworlders. Carter was already moving. His rifle barked, direct hit. The Zareth didn't flinch. The round hung suspended in its chest armor before dissolving into glittering dust. Your weapons are primitive. Your defiance is amusing. Then it struck. Faster than human eyes could track, it crossed the bridge and backhanded Carter into a console hard enough to crack the reinforced glass. The other Zareth moved as one, not attacking, just observing. Studying. Hale drew his sidearm. The lead Zareth tilted its head. You still fight. Hale fired. The Zareth caught the bullet midair between 2 clawed fingers. Then the lights died. Every system. Every screen. Even the emergency backups flickered out, plunging them into perfect darkness. Except for the Zareth's eyes. Glowing. Hungry. A new voice cut through the black, human, but distorted, like a transmission from the edge of a black hole. Hale. Listen carefully. They fear one thing. A single word burned itself into Hale's retinas in searing white text. Adapt. Then the lights returned. The Zareth were gone. Only the destruction remained. And a single pulsing data core where the lead Zareth had stood. Carter groaned, pulling himself upright. What the hell was? Hale was already moving toward the core. The war had just changed. And so would they.